Eyes Wide Shut is filled with doppelgängers, duality, doubling, repetition, multiple characters and symbols alluding to aspects of each other in a story that plays as a series of illusions. Following his wife's revelation of her sexual fantasy about another man, Dr. Bill Harford begins his odyssey by going to his patient Lou Nathanson's residence. In this scene, there are visual cues that he has passed into a fantasy of his own, starting with the arrangement of set pieces in the lobby. Bill enters a room full of paired objects. There are 2 elevator doors, 2 glass doors, and 2 windows. Positioned on opposite ends of the screen are 2 potted plants, 2 stools, 2 lamps, 2 side tables, and 2 framed pictures, each item apparently identical to its duplicate. Bill proceeds into the interior of the house through this picture of duality as if entering into a mirror. He walks down a hallway into a room where his recently deceased patient lies, whose daughter Marion, Marie Richardson, sits by the side of the bed. Bill sits next to her in a chair identical to the one she sits in, with a pair of identical windows behind them. Marion suddenly kisses Bill and tells him she is in love with him. She is engaged to be married, she says, but would gladly leave her fiancé for the chance to be with Bill, or at the very least, to live near him. Harford declines her offer, and soon after the fiancé, Carl, arrives. Marion offering herself to Bill mirrors his own wife's fantasy, who described herself as having been willing to give up their life together for a chance to have sex with a man she did not know. And here is where another fascinating metacinematic element is presented. Carl is played by another actor named Thomas Gibson, who was born on the exact same day, month and year as Thomas Cruise, July 3rd, 1962. The 2 actors bear a moderate resemblance, with similar physiques, hair color, and hairstyle. And in the film, Carl's hair is parted on the opposite side of his head than Bill's hair is parted. When the Nathansons, housekeeper Rosa opens the door for Carl, the camera's point of view is from the opposite angle than when she opened the door for Bill minutes before. Carl is a mathematics professor, meaning he has a doctor of philosophy and is therefore a doctor, and Bill is a doctor of medicine. In real life, they have the same birthday, the same first name, and a similar boyish all-American look. Gibson's character's name is Carl Thomas, initials CT, the reverse of Tom Cruise's initials TC. And it gets even more interesting when looking at the name etymology. Thomas is the anglicized form of the Italian Tommaso, from the Aramaic Toma, which means twin. Dictionary of First Names, 260. The first name of the actors Thomas Cruise and Thomas Gibson, who in real life have the exact same birth date and play alternate reality versions of each other in Eyes Wide Shut. Their name means twin. And the name Thomas is also etymologically linked to the word mason, as in the Freemasons, meaning one who works with stone. Mason is from Maso, which is also shortened from Tommaso. The name Carl is the shortened form of Charles, meaning free man, Dictionary of First Names 52. So the character's full name then essentially translates as Freemason. And St. Thomas, one of the 12 apostles, was known as Doubting Thomas, which fits Bill's character. Rosa refers to Carl as Mr. Thomas, that is, Mr. Twin. I had always wondered how Thomas Gibson, known primarily as a television actor, got this bit part in a Kubrick film. In addition to playing a doppelganger, German for double goer of sorts to Eyes Wide Shut's Bill, Gibson previously starred in another movie with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, Far and Away, 1992, in which he played the rival of Cruise's character vying for the affections of Kidman's character. Far and Away was the second film Cruise and Kidman starred in together. The third and last was Eyes Wide Shut. The situation comedy Gibson starred in at the time was set in kind of a parallel universe to Eyes Wide Shut, Dharma and Greg, in which he played a lawyer rather than a doctor who is also in a young urban professional marriage with a thin blonde woman. Bill has slipped into a slanted version of his wife's fantasy, reflected through his own mind, wherein he has taken the role of the stranger his wife desired. Carl is him, and Marion is his wife Alice. It is fitting then that Kidman's character is named Alice, calling to mind Lewis Carroll's heroine in Through the Looking Glass. But here it is Bill who goes through the mirror in another slipstream, dreamlike quality of gender reversal. Alice in Wonderland, 1865, and Through the Looking Glass, and What Alice Found There, 1871, are considered among the best examples of literary nonsense. As defined in An Anatomy of Literary Nonsense, 1988, it is a fiction subgenre that combines the logical with the illogical, balancing a multiplicity of meaning with a simultaneous absence of meaning. Elements of literary nonsense are primarily those of negativity or mirroring, imprecision or mixture, infinite repetition, simultaneity and arbitrariness, 47. These descriptions apply incredibly well to Eyes Wide Shut. In this segment, Bill steps through the looking glass, and from then on, much if not all of the story takes place in a nonsensical dream world. Inside the mirror of his wife's disclosed fantasy, Bill's internal landscape, his emotional state of jealousy and sexual guilt, are reflected externally. The tilted way this scene mirrors Alice's fantasy serves the film's enigmatic quality, giving us something to decipher and contemplate. The clues are there, but Kubrick skews elements just enough so that it is not all obvious at first glance. Only close inspection reveals that Nathanson's bedroom wallpaper and the Harford's bedroom curtains have the same fleur-de-lis pattern. Richardson is 8 years older than Kidman, has a Swedish accent, and other than both having blonde hair, they share only a mild resemblance. Likewise, Gibson resembles Cruise somewhat, but not enormously. Near-exact parallels abound throughout the film, but exact parallels are not immediately apparent. After Bill returns home from the mansion, Alice describes herself as having a dream in which many men are fucking her. At the mansion, many men are fucking many women, though Bill himself does not engage sexually. So here, in a way, Alice has become a character in Bill's fantasy, filtered through her own dream, just as he becomes a character in her fantasy, filtered through his dream. Another noteworthy element of the Nathanson scene is the presence of the recently deceased old man lying on the bed throughout. The character's last name is a possible allusion to the aforementioned Nathan Hale, a Yale graduate and spy recruited by George Washington during the American Revolution for independence from the British. Hale was hanged after being caught undercover across enemy lines in New York City, the same city where Eyes Wide Shut's Bill likewise becomes kind of a spy who goes undercover into hostile territory when he sneaks into the mansion in disguise. Naming Bill's wealthy patient Nathanson is another connection to power hierarchies, in this case to historical colonial conflicts, and Yale, the birthplace of Skull and Bones and an institution of the wealthy. The name Nathan also links to the Rothschild family. There were several Nathan Rothschilds over several generations, including Louis Nathaniel de Rothschild, Lionel Nathan de Rothschild, and Nathan Mayer Rothschild, who was once the wealthiest man on earth. It was this latter Nathan's son, Mayer Amschel de Rothschild, who commissioned the building of Mentmore Towers, which serves as the exterior of the Somerton mansion in Eyes Wide Shut. Bill's patient Lou Nathanson has just died, and later that night he goes to a mansion built by Nathan's son, the son of the wealthiest man on earth. At the mansion, Bill is confronted by a masked master of ceremonies credited as Red Cloak, who sits on a throne ornamented with what appears to be a two-headed eagle, or possibly a two-headed snake. It is not entirely clear, but both have relevance. The double-headed eagle is an ancient iconographic symbol dating back some 5,000 years, spanning a variety of cultures throughout the world, from Mesopotamia to the Byzantine Empire and beyond. It has also been used as an emblem by the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, a system of degrees employed by Freemasons, signifying the title Grand Inspector. In Egyptian mythology, the double-headed serpent is a creature named Neheb Ka, who binds parts of the soul, the Ka and Ba, together after death. Ancient Egyptians believed the Ka, meaning double, and Ba, personality, exist alongside the physical human body. Neheb Ka guards the entrance to the underworld Duat, depicted in ancient Egyptian artworks as a double world, represented by the hieroglyph of a five-pointed star inside a circle, like the decorative stars in Eyes Wide Shut. The glyphs in the name Neheb Ka resemble a double-headed snake, so it was portrayed as such, referring to the spiritual double of a person that leaves their body upon death, the vital essence which distinguishes a living body from a dead one. The ancient gods speak 181. The surname of the actor who plays Red Cloak, Leon Vitali, means life in Latin. Latin and English Dictionary, 452. Vitali played a role in Kubrick's Barry Lyndon before becoming his personal assistant and casting director on all his following films. In another case of meta-duality, Leon Vitali has the same birthday as Stanley Kubrick, July 26th, 1948 and 1928, respectively. Stanley Kubrick had a kind of real-life doppelganger of his own. Alan Conway was a British conman who impersonated Kubrick for years throughout the 1990s, claiming to be the famous director in London's wealthy socialite circles in order to gain favours, free hotel rooms, dinners, drinks, and so on. By this time, the real Kubrick had long withdrawn from media attention, so Conway succeeded in fooling many, including some film critics who contacted Warner Brothers to set up an interview with this Kubrick. Warner Brothers already knew of the scam, but had been unable to identify the imposter, and Stanley Kubrick himself was then apprised of the situation by his lawyer. Kubrick was said to have been fascinated by the idea. His wife, Christiane, was less impressed, as she reflected in a 2005 interview with The Guardian. It was an absolute nightmare, this strange doppelganger who was pretending to be Stanley. Can you imagine the horror? Conway was tracked down by an assistant to Kubrick, Anthony Fruin, who then detailed the whole affair in a screenplay for what became the movie Color Me Kubrick 2005, wherein John Malkovich plays Conway posing as Kubrick. The movie was directed by Brian W. Cook, who had worked as assistant director on Barry Lyndon and The Shining, and as a producer and assistant director on Eyes Wide Shut, and appears in it as Somerton's tall butler. Alan Conway died of a heart attack 3 months before Stanley Kubrick died, also of a heart attack.